Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I read a lot of these stories about entitled people. I find them very entertaining. But until today, I never thought I would have one I thought was post-worthy. So the morning started out like normal. I'm chilling at my desk doing work like normal, making money for the company as well as myself. I hear talking from downstairs. Nothing new. Then the talking slowly turned into shouting. I get a page on my office phone. My secretary called down asking me to come downstairs. I asked if everything was okay. Then the crazy guy yelled through the phone that I needed to get down there immediately. Mind you, I'm not small. I'm 6'2", not really ripped, 345 pounds, dude. I worked outside in the shop from the bottom to get to the office. I know all there is to know about the company. My secretary has been here longer than me. She knows I know what I am talking about. I head downstairs to see what the commotion is about. When I arrive, I spot two people, a man and a woman, standing at the front desk looking furious. I greeted them and asked how I could help them and what seemed to be the problem. Crazy guy didn't see me as he was still death glaring our secretary. Crazy lady saw me though. She complained that our company was full of lazy people and needed to shape up its act. Crazy guy sees me, steps back, and grabs his wife to pull her behind him. At this point, seeing this, I knew he came to the shop for a fight. I used to be a bouncer at night to make extra money when I worked in the shop. Reading people is one of the things you pick up quickly while working there. His posture suggested he was going to be aggressive. The crazy guy started shouting, asking what kind of crap show I was running here. I told him I needed to know what was wrong so I could help. He yelled that I already knew what it was about, claiming he had called me already and told me he was coming down. He asked if I thought he was bluffing and said he wasn't afraid of me. People who say that are usually afraid actually, but anyways. As I have received no calls this morning or yesterday about problem situations, I'm at a loss. I look at my secretary and she shakes her head and shrugs her shoulders. The crazy lady complained that this was so unprofessional and threatened to give our place a bad review. I repeated that I still hadn't heard their reason for being here and what was upsetting them. The crazy guy insisted that I knew what the problem was. I explained that I wouldn't be asking if I knew. He then shouted that it was utter nonsense, accusing us of not delivering the trusses for the roof. He complained about our customer service and demanded his money back. The crazy lady chimed in, saying that she wanted all of it back, both the deposit and the other half. She kept repeating all of it. I'm even more confused as we do not do the half and half thing. In the past, the company got screwed that way, but I know our competitors do. But which one I don't know. But I have a way of finding out which one, as this field is a very competitive and close-knit circle. I asked who they had spoken to. The crazy lady told me she had spoken to Chad, who supposedly promised they would get their trusses yesterday. When she talks, she has a finger in my face, which is already pushing my buttons. The crazy guy shouted that the trusses never showed up. As I have dealt with a lot of so-called alpha males in my life, they raise their voice to assert their dominance over me. It doesn't work. At this point, I'm annoyed that they are thinking we are our competitors. I am getting yelled at and demeaned by two idiots that didn't see the giant sign right as they drove in. It's a huge logo. It's 8 feet tall and 15 feet long. I know. I helped make it. I asked once more if they were sure they were where they were supposed to be right now. At this point, that is the last of my I'm gonna be nice thread I have. My secretary warned me not to do whatever she could see I was about to do. She has a stern look on her face. She knows my patience is wearing thin. The crazy lady asked what I was going to do, getting in my face, which is a big no-no. Then she challenged what I thought I was going to do before slapping my face. The crazy guy accused me of touching his wife and grabbed me, trying to push me against the wall behind me. Mind you, I outweigh this guy by at least 100 pounds. I'm not moving, and my energy has just run out. He ripped my shirt pocket. I grab both of them in a bear hug, take them outside the office, and plant them in the driveway. At this point, my secretary has already called the cops. I turn and point to the giant sign. I asked them if this was where they were supposed to be. It then just dawned on them they were at the wrong place. The woman walks closer as if her eyes cannot adjust manually. 2 minutes later, she falls on the ground screaming. The crazy guy shouted about his wife and demanded someone call 911. I turned to go back to the office. My head shakes. I stop and turn to find crazy guy with a stick he found on the ground. I'm about to unleash a damaging terror on the guy as he has the look on his face of Arnold hitting the predator when the police show up. Me, still totally pissed, did not see the police until they came to stop me. The guy is claiming all sorts of crazy nonsense as well as the woman. I invite everyone to my office. I show them the camera feed and the recordings of the whole thing. Crazy lady is confused, goes downstairs, sees the camera and comes back upstairs. She looks at the monitor, looks at me, looks at the monitor, looks at me, does a crazy growling leap thing. I dodged and put my hand on her back, pinning her to my desk. Crazy guy then does a jump at me. I do the same thing to him. Crazy lady screaming. Cops don't care. Both go away in handcuffs. Their car got towed as well. Yes, me and my secretary pressed charges. I talked to the guy they are supposed to be talking to. Come to find out that they were getting the trusses in the morning, but didn't as no one was there to receive the trusses. Crazy guy and crazy lady sent the contractor home to come deal with this. As of now, the job is not finished. The contractor cannot get paid. The job is not finished. The house is open. Trusses sitting on the ground. Owners in jail. When it rains, it pours. I found out later from the actual company they were supposed to be at that this wasn't even the first time they'd done something like this. They have a reputation for trying to intimidate businesses into giving them refunds by causing scenes. The manager at the trust company told me they'd been difficult from day one, changing orders and demanding discounts. Their contractor called me the next day to apologize. He explained that he'd been trying to work with them for months, but they kept changing plans and blaming others for delays. When I told him they were in jail, he actually laughed and said now maybe he could finish the job in peace. The police officer handling the case called to let me know they were being charged with assault, trespassing, and attempted fraud. Turns out they'd pulled similar stunts at other businesses in the area. They won't be building their dream home anytime soon, unless it's made of cinder blocks and has bars on the windows. I am autistic, and it's uncomfortable when others touch me or speak to me aggressively. 3 years ago, I was at the local grocery store with my college friends. My friends went to the chip aisle to search for a brand of chips they liked, while I went to gather ingredients for queso. I was wearing a green shirt in the same shade employees wore, but I was also wearing ratty jeans and sneakers. I was reaching for some microwavable cheese blocks. Suddenly I was whirled around by what I can only describe as a woman from hell. Poorly dyed black hair, spray-on tan, the works. She demanded to know where the gardening supplies were located. She said she had been looking everywhere for an employee and accused me of not being on break. I told her this was a grocery store and they likely don't stock gardening supplies. I added that I didn't work there and explained that employees wear green shirts with black vests and name tags. She scoffed and said I was new and didn't listen during training. She told me she would find my manager and I was coming with her. The woman grabbed my upper arm hard and dragged me from my intended purchase. I was shocked and scared. Eventually, my brain realized this was a danger zone situation, and I started struggling. I asked her to let me go and repeated that I didn't work there. I tried to explain that, even if I did, this store doesn't stock gardening tools. She cut me off by striking my face. She looked at me like I was some troublemaking, lazy teen. She told me where she came from, they had to work hard to get where they are. She said my parading around acting like I'm on break was going to end with her. She ordered me to be a good girl and let her talk to my boss. I waited, tearing up quietly, on a bench while my friends ran up to me. They comforted me with one suggesting I press charges for assault. I decided to charge this lady. The manager walked over, looked at me, and told the woman that I did not work there. Before she could reply, I told the manager this woman hit me and made threats against me. I asked if he could call the police and have them see the security footage. The manager looked shocked. He asked the woman if this was true. She denied it completely and claimed I told her to get lost when she was asking for help. The manager said this was a serious accusation, so he was calling the cops anyway. The woman turned and ran. My friends convinced me to leave the store. We went back to my apartment to eat and watch TV. Later, I got a house call from the cops with a woman in handcuffs. They told me she had been shoplifting in that store for a little under a month. She coerced younger college-age employees to check her out and forget to ring up things like expensive cuts of meat, bottles of wine, etc. The employees were all too scared to do anything because she had a photo ID of the regional manager who was her brother. She claimed he would fire them if anything was reported. I told the cops my statement and they took it straight to her brother. Despite being close to her, he pressed charges for theft, assault, and other grievances. From what I can tell, she goes in and out of jail these days for minor crimes. I was a car guy back in high school when I barely knew what I was doing. My first car was absolute garbage, a rusted out heap that probably wouldn't fetch more than $5 at a dealership, but it was mine. I saved up for it by working weekends at the local grocery store, and I was determined to take care of it properly. My mechanical knowledge was limited. I knew where the dipstick was and how to check my oil level. That was about it. Tire pressure? That was advanced stuff I hadn't tackled yet. One step at a time. After school one day, I drove over to my friend's house. His parents lived in some fancy neighborhood, but I didn't care. We were just two car-obsessed teenagers. We hopped out of my car, popped the hood, and I showed him how to check the oil level. It was fine, so we put the hood back down and went inside to play video games. I had no clue what a homeowners association was. Never heard of one. Why would I? I was just a teenager proud of my junker and eager to show I was responsible enough to maintain it. A few days later, we were hanging out at his place again when his mom came home looking irritated. She was trying to be cool about it, but you could tell something was bothering her. His mom told us in an annoyed tone that she had received a warning from the homeowners association. She explained they were accusing us of repairing cars in the driveway and even showed us a photo they had sent of my car with its hood up. I quickly defended our actions, insisting we weren't repairing anything at all. I told her I was just showing her son how to check the oil level. My friend backed me up, pointing out that we didn't even have any tools out. She relaxed a bit after hearing our explanation, and her annoyance shifted from us to the homeowners association. She said it was ridiculous they would complain about something as simple as checking oil levels. She went to a drawer and pulled out a thick binder labeled HOA bylaws and started flipping through it. She told us she wanted to see exactly what the rules said about car repairs. We crowded around as she found the relevant section. There was a rule stating that no vehicle repairs were to be performed in driveways or visible areas, and that all vehicle maintenance must be conducted inside garages or off-site. I said checking oil isn't a repair but basic maintenance that every car owner should know how to do. That's when the idea hit me. I looked at my friend with a raised eyebrow and asked if he wanted to fight the power. He agreed, shouting the phrase back at me. I explained my plan to his mom, since she'd be the one dealing with any complaints. To my surprise, she was on board. She told us she thought the rule was stupid too and gave us permission to go ahead with our plan as long as we didn't damage anything. The next day, our plan began. After school, I drove to my friend's house, and he followed in his equally terrible car. We parked both vehicles in the driveway, side by side, and raised the hoods. Then we just stood there, looking at the engines, not touching them, not checking anything, just looking. We did this every day. We weren't breaking any rules, we weren't repairing anything. We were just admiring our engines in the open air. After about a week, I got bored of just staring, so I brought an easel and some art supplies. I set up right next to my car and started sketching the engine. I was terrible at drawing, but that wasn't the point. My friend, not wanting to be outdone, decided he needed to take artistic photos with his car. He took off his shirt and posed, draped across the engine like he was doing a calendar shoot. I snapped pictures while we both laughed. Just ridiculous teenage boy behavior. The warnings from the homeowners association started piling up. First, it was just notices about the cars with their hoods up. Then it was warnings about my art setup. Then it was complaints about my shirtless friend posing with his car. Each notice came with increasingly annoyed language and photographic evidence of our violations. After a month of this, the fines started coming. His mom collected them all but didn't pay a single one. Instead, she told us that the monthly homeowners association meeting was coming up and we were all going to attend. On the night of the meeting, we prepared our evidence. I brought my terrible engine drawing and we printed out some of the ridiculous photos of my friend with his car. His mom brought all the warning notices and fines. We sat through boring announcements and committee reports until they finally got to new business. My friend's mom raised her hand and was recognized by the president. His mom said she had received multiple fines for something that wasn't actually prohibited by the bylaws, and she wanted to address this with the board. A board member responded by mentioning the car repairs, stating they were clearly against the rules and that they had photographic evidence. He showed one of the pictures of our cars with the hoods up. My friend's mom challenged him to point out where in the photos he could see any repairs happening. When the board member said that the raised hoods obviously meant we were working on the cars, she countered by explaining the bylaw wording. She pointed out that it prohibited vehicle repairs and there were no repairs happening in any of the photos, not even any visible tools. She claimed we were simply working on an art project for school. She handed over my awful engine drawing and the photos of my friend posing with his car. The date stamps on the photos proved we'd been doing this for weeks. The president called a 5-minute recess and the board huddled in the corner, whispering. When they returned, the president looked defeated. He told us that they had decided to dismiss all the fines and wished us a good evening. We skipped out of that meeting. Being the teenagers we were, we did our hood-up routine a few more times just to make sure they got the message. They never sent another warning, probably realizing we'd just come up with something even more ridiculous if they did. Eventually, we moved on to other ways to irritate them, like putting up holiday decorations one day after they were supposed to be taken down, or parking exactly on the property line between houses. But nothing was as satisfying as our engine art project rebellion. I work in information technology, but I'm not your typical IT person. I specialize in a complex software program that's the backbone of our company's operations. Every department uses this program daily for their work. My job involves fixing issues when they come up and talking to our software vendor when problems are too big for me to fix. One of the most important parts of my job is handling software upgrades. These aren't simple updates. Each upgrade needs lots of testing before we can use it. Every department has to test the new version and sign off on it. This process takes between 1 to 2 months to complete. Then there's the department head, I'll call Karen. Working with her has always been hard. Whenever I needed information from her department, she'd treat me like I was wasting her time. At first, I thought she just didn't like me, but after talking to other IT colleagues, they told me Karen was difficult with everyone. She had a bad reputation throughout the IT team. A few years ago, we were getting ready for an important upgrade. This new version had features we needed for new clients, plus fixes for several bugs. We had spent nearly 2 months testing, got sign-offs from every department, and planned to implement the upgrade the next day. That's when it happened. With less than 24 hours before the scheduled upgrade, Karen sent in a help desk ticket about a critical issue with a new version. The problem she wrote about was serious enough that it would force us to cancel the entire upgrade. Our executives were angry. This upgrade had been planned for months and was important for new business. I got calls from management telling me to send this to our vendor right away. The pressure was heavy. At the bottom of Karen's ticket was a note that said no one could contact her about the issue. She wrote that there would be no messages, phone calls, emails, or anyone coming to her desk to talk about it. I looked at the ticket carefully, checking the screenshot and her description. After about 15 minutes, I realized what was happening. It wasn't a software bug at all. It was just user error. Karen was using the feature wrong. Usually, I would have called her, explained how to use it, and closed the ticket, but she had said not to contact her, so I followed her instructions exactly. I called the Chief Information Officer directly. I told him I had looked at Karen's ticket about the problem with tomorrow's upgrade. When he asked how soon the vendor could fix it, I explained there was nothing to fix since it was just user error. She wasn't using the feature correctly. He said I should just explain it to her so we could move forward with the upgrade. I pointed out that according to her ticket, I wasn't allowed to contact her in any way, not by call, email, message, or even going to her desk. There was a pause followed by what I can only describe as a controlled sigh. The CIO told me he would handle it and told me to continue getting ready for the upgrade. About 1 hour later, I saw Karen walking to my desk. She wasn't walking with her usual confidence. She looked almost sorry. She asked me if I had found an issue with her ticket, which was the nicest she'd ever started a conversation with me. I turned my monitor so she could see and showed her the right way to use the feature. I showed her that if she clicked in a specific place first and then picked certain options, the function would work just like it was supposed to. Karen quietly said she would need to look at this again and left quickly. About 5 minutes later, I got a message from her. The first nice message I'd ever gotten from Karen. She asked me to close the ticket because the issue was fixed. The upgrade went ahead as planned the next day without any problems. All the new features and bug fixes worked, and our new clients were set up without delay. Karen didn't get fired for her last-minute problem, but something even better happened. Soon after this, she was taken off the testing approval process completely. Someone else from her department took over that job, and I haven't gotten a single help desk ticket from Karen since then. I later heard through office talk that the CIO had a long meeting with Karen and her boss that day. I don't know what was said, but something changed. Now when I pass her in the hallway, she quickly looks away and goes in another direction. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.